Hey guys, if you haven't listened to the Dale Jr. Download this week, Robert Wickens is our guest. He's a former IndyCar driver, now racing in IMSA, overcame severe tragedy to get back behind the wheel. It's a great story you're going to want to listen to. You're back behind the wheel of a race car racing in the Pilot Series in the IMSA world, in sports cars.
Bastien Bourdais also trying to make a move. Right now it's Rossi the leader, then it's Power. Wickens, they're going to make contact. Big contact, car in the air. It's Robert Wickens that spins.
Hey everybody, I just wanted to take the time to send you guys a quick note. It's obviously been a long time since I've posted anything on social media, but I just wanted to say that all of your kind words and all of your positivity has meant the absolute world to me and my family.
I've read a little bit about your comments when you first got behind the wheel of the car, racing with hand controls. How different was it coming off of the simulator, the iRacing rig, and getting in a real car, and actually the raw feel of the traction of the car and the level of grip and understanding and doing that math in your brain, every corner and braking zones and all that.
Yeah.
How hard was it, or how easy was it to really find yourself getting up to speed and finding pace?
I mean, again, the great thing about iRacing for me was I still knew how to drive a race car, even though I was just trying to figure out how I do it with these instead of with my feet, right?
All right, guys, so I thought I'd show you how the hand controls work, because we've been getting a lot of questions. So first things first, the throttle is down here. And you just pull it towards the steering wheel like a clutch paddle on an Indy car. I prefer this option because I can actually choose to use my right or my left hand depending on the corner that we're going into. The throttle's fly-by-wire, so when Mark's driving, he flicks a switch to put it down to the normal pedals, and then I flick a switch to make it active on the hand controls.
And even though the system I use on my rig on iRacing is not what I'm using in my Hyundai Elantra and TCR car, still that like muscle memory of when I first started jumping into iRacing, I was still defaulting to trying to use my feet. Like I'd go into a corner and I'd be like instinctively trying to use my feet, but it wouldn't work. And I'd be like, oh, my hands. And then I would like reach for the handbrake and brake for the corner and go into the turn. And it was honestly just iRacing gave me that muscle memory of making my hands second nature, understanding that these are my tools now. How do I get the most out of it? And even though the brake system that I use, I'm just using like almost like a rallycross adapted handbrake.
Yep.
Not what I'm using in the Michelin Pilot Challenge.
What is it?
Series. It's a ring on the back of the steering wheel that I basically pull the ring towards the wheel, so that way both my hands are on the steering wheel at all times.
The big ring on the back is the brake, so you just pull that in like you would a brake, and it actually runs down to the physical brake pedal. So when Mark Wilkins is driving, we don't have to change anything at all.
Is it this, when you pull that back? So when we mash a brake pedal, it gets harder, right? Or if you're pulling on that brake level, like you might in a rally car, there's more tension the further back. You understand like the level of braking that you're applying. How does that work with the ring?
Nah, it's similar. So because I'm sharing this car with a teammate who is an able-bodied driver, my brake system is like a one-to-one. I pull the ring and it pushes the physical brake pedal down. But as you can imagine, like getting that much brake pressure
out of just that movement
is a challenge. So I have a hydraulic actuator that helps me develop the pressure, and that's our biggest area right now of understanding. Is it's not that brake feel that I remember feeling,
right?
And
are you trying to create that?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, it's kind of a catch-22. Like, what do? Do you just learn this, or do you constantly try to chase something?
Sure. Yeah,
right.
Okay.
And we don't have a whole lot of testing, so right now we're pretty much like in Daytona, we made pretty big strides with the system.
Yeah.
Going into Sebring, we tried one different variation, but it didn't really work. But in doing so, we kind of like wasted a full practice session because I couldn't drive it. Basically, I couldn't develop enough brake pressure, so I just couldn't slow down competitively.
This is a very personal question to ask a race car driver, but do you believe that once you figure out the mechanical, technical side of this, that you personally can find the same pace that you would have been able to create 10 years ago, 5 years ago?
Honestly, I think 100%.
100%.
Right now, we're still in the early stages, but I'm showing signs that it's there.
Yeah.
You know, we got on the podium in Daytona in the first race back, which was like a dream come true. In Sebring a couple weeks ago, I qualified second. I led for majority of my stint in the race before handing the car off, and we got tangled up in an incident that wasn't our fault. But, you know, we're showing progress. So going into Laguna Seca here in 3 weeks.
What are your challenges? What do you want what do you want the car to do better?
Honestly, the car itself, the Hyundai Elantra, handles phenomenal. Like, it's a front-wheel drive car. I've never driven a front-wheel drive race car before. Apart from corner exits are a little less exciting. You know, I'm so used to the rear, like constantly stepping out and stuff, and now you are managing your front tires of not like kind of getting understeer on throttle. But the balance is really, really good.
But as far as like the technical hand controls and so forth, what are you still trying to perfect?
I'm still trying to perfect the braking.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
you got a lot to gain in braking zones and so forth as you improve the technology.
I mean, you know, on a road course, like braking is
everything.
70% of the lap time. So it's braking and getting into the corner, and how much brake you take to the apex changes the whole balance of the car. So I'm not consistent enough yet with my braking. So I feel like as a teammate, I'm not providing enough help for car setup for everything else, because one lap to the next, I'm manipulating the balance so much that I'm getting a bad read on, do I have too much entry oversteer? Do I have too much entry understeer? And then I need to look into the data and understand, like, oh, actually, I have way too much brake pressure on turn-in compared to my teammate Mark Wilkins. And then I need to adjust that. So, like, I'm constantly learning from my teammate and adapting instead of giving it a 50-50 workload, trying to build the best car we can as a team.
If you enjoyed that little conversation with Robert Wickens, you need to listen to his entire interview. The Dale Jr. Download, it's available on all major podcast platforms.